And we welcome you to a new edition of On the Hash with Hatfield. The latest episode here. It's number 7, I think, in our countdown, if I've got the tally right. As we talk to you about the world of high school football around Hampton Roads and beyond here with On the Hash with Hatfield from the Sportsplex. I'm rocking the Norfolk Tides hat today. Congrats to the International League champions. By the way, you're getting sold to a new ownership group, but I've got to give them a little shout out here. We're rocking new hats every week. If you want me to wear your hat, I'll do it. Price is right. That's what they say, right? No, we have the Hits hat, which we love giving out the takeaways after Friday Night Football on social media, on X, on Twitter. And as always, our show is streaming on YouTube with the Virginia Beach Sportsplex YouTube channel, on our Virginia Beach Regional Training Center Facebook page, and with the Sportsplex on Facebook, and also on X or Twitter at 757 Sports Talk. We give you podcasts every couple of days with the folks from Hometown Sports Productions here with On the Hash with Hatfield. All right, let's get to our first item of business here. We're going to go through some power ratings later on in the show. Also, the latest Chicho's Pizza 757 football player of the week. It went to someone in the Southeastern District last week, and I got news for you. I think it's going to go to someone in the Southeastern District again this week, as there was a team in the SED that notched a major win. We'll be catching up with a couple of interview playbacks that we had from last week's games. We had a Tuesday night game that took place in the Peninsula District. It was a makeup game in the 757. So you'll hear from a couple of coaches here in just a moment, as well as our guest that will be joining us on the show from the Beach District, John Kepple. His team, we talked about his team last week in a loss to Kellum from the week before on a wild play at the end of the game to Brian Neese's Knights. We had Coach Brian Neese on the show, and that kept the winning streak going because his team won. We'll see if Coach Kepple keeps that streak of coming on with me intact. As when you come on with me, you win usually your next game. Now, they take on Winless Princess, and I didn't plan it out that way. Meanwhile, when you come on with me and Coach Young, it's a little dicey what's going to take place as far as if you're going to get W or not. But we'll go through the power ratings. We'll tell you about that. We'll actually call it we'll give one of our new sponsors a shout-out that's going to present the power ratings. We have a top 10 for field hockey. We do top 10s on VirginiaPreps.com for all 6 classifications as the playoffs are near. We're down to the final 3 weeks of the regular season. You'll see scrolling across the screen here real soon. In fact, during our conversation with Coach Kepple, some of the games coming up in the, I guess you could say, days to come here. It's on a Thursday. We do this show generally each and every Thursday for you. But we're going to start off with an interview from last Thursday over at John B. Todd Stadium in Newport News. It was an interesting ball game with the Hampton Crabbers, who have owned the Menchville Monarchs in the head-to-head series. Menchville is a Class 4 Region A school. Menchville is a Class 5 Region B school. It's been a pretty strong region for basketball if you follow the winter season quite a bit. And the Monarchs, we talked a little bit about them last week on our 757 Saturday Sports Talk program with yours truly, Matt Hatfield, and the coach, Ed Young. We had Rodney Taylor on the show, who was very excited about his team's win. Well, we caught up with 2 of the standout players as well, and Shane Reimann, who recovered the game-winning fumble late as the Crabbers stopped them on 4th and 1, and the guy who had a hand in all 4 touchdowns for the Monarchs, that is quarterback Amir Harrison, from running back to turn quarterback. Here's what they told us after the win here on the Hash with Hatfield. Let's give it a listen now on the pod.
Already here with a couple of heroes for the Menchville Monarchs to beat the Hampton Crabbers tonight, 28-24. I've got Amir Harrison, the quarterback, do-it-all athlete, 4 touchdowns tonight, including a couple rushing, 1 passing, and the defensive pick 6. And Shane Reimann, who's got the chain tonight, fumble recovery to seal the game. Shane, tell me what's going through your mind. They get the stop on 4th and 1, but the ball snaps, you get the recovery, and you guys celebrate pretty much. Just got to get a couple stops and win the ball game.
I just seen opened up a hole. I blitzed right through, came right through, made a play, big time moment.
When the ball's live on the ground like that, are you thinking, oh boy, this is the game, go seal it? What's going through your mind at that moment?
Just got to make that big time play, seal the game off for my team. It was a hard fought win, great game. We got it done. Look forward to next week.
Sure. Amir, Hampton had won 27 straight times against Menchville. You now have beaten them 2 years in a row. How you guys pull this off, and how did you get such a fast start tonight?
Preparation since last week. Coach Taylor prepared us real good. Going to the game, watched film, knew what they was doing, called the plays out, and then halftime made adjustments to get the game done.
Now, I think really the turning play was you had a touchdown already to go up 7-0, but you had a pick 6. Take me through that play. Walk me through what you saw on that, how it happened.
They had the quarterback had scrambled out because the chain had broke. I was on my back pedal, seen the receiver breaking up field, and I cut under it. And then I seen grass in front of me. I already knew what time it was.
Sure. You're 3-3 coming into this game on the year. To get this type of win, what's this do momentum-wise, confidence-wise as the playoffs are just a few weeks away?
Well, it brings us back. We ready for next week. Ready to get into the playoffs. We dropped a few that we shouldn't have dropped, but you got to look ahead the rest of the season.
Before I get back to you, Shane, what have you all learned from the early season adversity? You guys had some tough battles, but how have you guys kind of held it together through this process?
It's always going to be a fight. We always just got whatever we go through. We just got to fight to the end and make sure we can do whatever we can to get the win.
How big was Jabrian Briggs tonight catching the ball from him? He made a spectacular catch before the half. Was that a big confidence boost as well because they were coming back at that point?
Great confidence boost. I just threw it up, hope my teammate make a play. Knew he was going to make the play, and he did it.
Now, you previously played running back, was it a year ago? And now you're playing quarterback. How's that transformation going for you in transition, learning the offense and playing Q as opposed to running back?
I mean, I knew the offense, so it wasn't really that hard. Just trusting in my teammates more and hoping and knowing that they make plays.
Sure. And lastly, Shane, for you guys, what's this win do as you move forward? What are the positives you take away from the game, and what are the things you got to clean up on?
Hey, penalties. Always got to clean up on our penalties. Keep the ball under control, no turnovers, and just take it week by week. Every day in practice, get better and better, and hopefully we can win every time we play till the playoffs. So big week.
Great win for the Monarchs tonight. Shane Reimann, Amir Harrison, and company get it done. Thank you so much, guys. Congrats on the victory.
Thank you, sir.
Good work. Yeah, good job. Good work.
So that was a couple of the Menchville Monarchs, a victorious group after their win over the Hampton Crabbers by a count of 28-24. They had lost so many games to Hampton over the years, and then now they've won 2 in a row. Big kudos to Coach Rodney Taylor and those players getting that done. As Menchville now, as we look at the power ratings that'll be popping up here on the screen in just a second, as we'll go through some of them now for 4A and for 5B. We'll go through some other regions in a little bit here, but for 5B, Maury's at the top right now, 7-0 overall. They're the top dog. They're winning by like 65 points for game in the Eastern District. Nobody seems to be touching them. Kings Fork has a massive game. We'll preview coming up against Oscar Smith on Friday night. Warwick is undefeated, 8-0. They've not given up a touchdown on defense all year long. Nansemond River had a tough loss in a shootout with Indian River last week. Menchville's 4-3 now in the 5 slot, which I think you want to be. Granby 6, big game with Norcom coming up. Norcom's homecoming on Saturday. Greyhounds are not eligible for playoffs. We'll touch on that in a little bit here. Bethel, Kickingham running at the top 8. Norview and Woodside going to have a hard time getting in. I like how Menchville, though, is finding different ways to move the ball a little bit because their offense was getting a little stagnant around midseason after those couple of games with Western Branch and Heritage. Didn't move it or score it much at all against Bethel. Got shut out against Warwick, and now they've kind of found a groove here with 3 straight wins. And in 4A, Hampton's probably looking at the number 4 seed. Churchland can stub its toe against Maury. They cannot afford to against Lake Taylor, otherwise the Crabbers can potentially pass them without having to play Phoebus. They've already played them once. They got Warwick on deck, though, which is going to be a hard game to win. They're taking 8, which is crazy to me, in the playoffs. We'll have to fix that because it says Jamestown 8-10, Denby 10. I think it's 8-9, so we'll work on that here during the break to figure out what we got wrong on that 4A graphic, which is apparently incorrect. I think it's Denby's the 9, not the 10. I think there's only technically 9 schools out of 8 in that region. So we'll work on that and make sure that's error-proof, if you will. But before we go to break, we have another coaching clip with the top seed in 4A as it leads us into it. The Jeremy Blunt-led Phoebus Phantoms just 3 yards allowed against Bethel on Tuesday night in a makeup game. Bethel had a tough week. They had to play on a Saturday in the rain against Heritage in a game that they lost. And then they had to turn around and play another tough game against the Phoebus Phantoms, who are defending state champs 2 years running now, and that's never an easy game. But we caught up with Coach Jeremy Blunt, whose team has now won 27 consecutive games, and here's what he told us about the Phantoms as they stay unbeaten here on The Hash with Hatfield.
I'm here at the head football coach of the Phoebus Phantoms, Jeremy Blunt, after his team's 35-0 shutout of the Bethel Bruins to move to 7-0. Coach, your 27th straight win, 27th consecutive winner in the series against Bethel, who hasn't beaten the Phantoms since 1996, and you hold them most impressively, a team over 500 coming in tonight, to just 3 total yards of offense. I'm running out of adjectives and superlatives for your defense. How about you?
Well, I tell you what, man, our goal tonight was, man, just to keep these guys from crossing the 50. You know, we wanted to test us ourselves out, man. And, you know, that coaching staff over there is doing a great job. You know, Coach Porter, you know, good friend of mine, man, and I got nothing but respect for he and his staff and what they're doing. So I think, you know, one day of preparation, man, you know, we only had a day. They only had a day, man. I think the guys stepped up to the challenge today.
Yeah, a lot of people like Coach Porter. He obviously coached at college level. I know he's all about the kids as well. You know, first half, 6 straight 3-and-outs by your defense. We know about all the headliners from Anthony Reddick, who's going to Maryland, to Tayshawn Stevenson, who's going to ODU, Caleb Tillery, all these all-state guys. The guy who, to me, jumped out, and it's a new guy every time, Otis Howard for you, number 21. I think he led you in unassisted tackles. He's making a bunch of plays. It's like just when you try to cover up a hole in terms of preparing for you guys, somebody else comes through. Is it just a matter of the culture and they practice against these guys and they're ready to kind of step up and be hungry and show their presence as well? Or
I mean, I'll tell you what, man, we're able to get best on best every day. So when our guys are competing, and no matter if they're number one or number two, they're on that scout team side. Our guys are getting our starters are getting the best look every day. So, it's no doubt, it's not a surprise that a kid like Otis will step up and have a game like he had tonight. It was a little personal for him as well. So, he's got some roots at Bethel, so it was a little personal for him.
That's a little bit of extra.
We were definitely pleased with the entire defense. And offensively, we came out, we scored every series first half. So, that was impressive as well. And special teams, I think all three phases for one day to prepare, man. Guys really did an excellent job canceling out and taking care of their business in all three phases.
Well, just the film study of your guys. There's even, I'm on both sidelines in the first half, getting some photos before I go back to the box, and I'm noticing when they go to a screen, they have a dynamic guy had over 300 all-purpose yards, and Victor Romaine, number one for them. They know a screen's coming, so your guys jump and almost get a pick six. So you just see those habits that you guys prepare. Is that something as a coach, when you look back, I know you're going to nitpick at some things that could have made the defense even greater, but you say, man, it's hard to get too disappointed with that?
No, I'll tell you what, man, we key it up. Okay. It's a testament to myself and the coaching staff, man. We prepare these guys. The guys enjoy film study. The guys enjoy our game plan days, breaking guys down. We're going to look at every ounce and weakness that each team has, as well as strengths, and we just look for the counter punches that might come off of it. So we're keyed up defense, man, and, we're going to take one box and check it off at a time.
100-plus yards tonight rushing for Davion Roberts. Keontae Gray gets 3 touchdowns. I think he got one unconventional with a fumble recovery in the end zone. And then Paul Stephen Davis, hat trick, absolutely, like you get in field hockey there. And, it feels like offensively you've made some progress from when I saw you game one against Oscar Smith to now. Adonis Stowers, the QB1 for you. Have you sensed that as well? And where have you maybe made most progress in your opinion?
I think it's just the overall buy-in, man. Every year your team has to figure out who they are and what their identity is. And I believe these guys are now figuring it out. We got a lot of returners that came back from last year, but we have some critical pieces that are new positions, new personnel this year. So I think guys just getting more accustomed to who we are and what we are. That's what you're seeing. You're starting to see the overall, buy-in take place.
How much is it? Your defense has versatility, but offensively to show that versatility, you can play not just Stowers at quarterback, but Trent Mitchell is also catching passes for you. You have this freshman QB, and I think it's Maricus Banks, who's going to be a good one for years to come. Paul Stephen Davis can run or catch. Same with Gray, same with Roberts. That you have different guys. The defenses can't key in it if they just run or catch because they have multifaceted skill sets, if you will. Or
yeah, we're dynamic, man. That's the thing that we were explaining to people. We knew we were losing guys like Jordan Bass and Jaden Early and Davion Rogers at the receiver position, and Nolan James at the quarterback position, but Tyrion Taylor the tailback position, but the guys that were coming behind them, man, we knew what we had. It was just a matter of, hey, it's my moment now. It's my time, and we're starting to see that take shape.
There's a lot of talk about this big game at the end of the month. However, you got Menchville coming up, who just beat Hampton, who's always a rival for you guys. How much is it just keeping that locked-in focus about, look, it doesn't matter if we're playing Oscar Smith, Hampton, Menchville, Warwick, who's at the end of the month, just do our game and the rest will take care of itself. Is that sort of the message going into these games, regardless of who that opponent is?
Our goals speak to the opponent that's on the clock. Okay. That's all we focus on, man. We let everybody else talk about the highlighted games and things like that, man, but as soon as you start overlooking the person that's in front of you, they'll come up and they'll take one from you. So we've been there. We've done that. We've been on the winning side of it and the losing side of it, man. So testament to what we do and how we preach and within the culture here. Focus on the man that's on the clock.
And lastly, it's past the midway point here, and you're getting ready for that stretch run in playoffs. I know that championship is to get a three-peat, which is something that's special at Phoebus or any school in the state. How much do these guys, the seniors especially, sense like to get that legacy? That's a big, big deal, knowing that it happened years ago, the four-peat, but to get a three-peat, that would be something really unique for them.
It's looming over their heads, and they understand it, and they respect the pressure that comes with it. But all the same, man, when you put those goals and objectives out there, and you hone in on that and you talk about it every day and you keep it in front of their faces and you keep it in their ears and you have it posted up all over the place and they know them inside out, it's not hard to stay on track. It's not hard to stay focused on the day-by-day process. And we do focus on one day at a time, one practice at a time. We don't get ahead of ourselves. Sounds boring, but I tell you what, it works for us.
It might be boring, but it's fun to watch your defense and your football team in general fly around. Congrats on the win. And tell Coach Van Dyke, Coach Robinson, and the crew to send me a couple donuts.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you, man.
Thank you, buddy.
All right, man.
Had to get that in for a couple of the assistants, a long-time special teams coach, coordinator, kicking guru, if you will, Dick Van Dyke. No relation to the famous Dick Van Dyke from the TV show and Anthony Robinson, my guy, I think he goes by Big Galactus out there. Former Phoebus lineman on the state title teams under the late great Bill D, and they just continue the tradition on there at Phoebus. They're sort of the new Hampton in the sense of what the Crabbers used to be in regards to winning titles year after year after year under the great Mike Smith, and Ronald Curry was a star, Marcus Hagans, Tyrod Taylor. Phoebus, they don't rebuild, they reload, as they've gone successfully from Coach D to Coach Stan Sexton, who won titles, and now Jeremy Blunt, who played for the program, understands the tradition and what it means to be a Phantom, those type of things. And here they are looking like the team that can win Class 4 as they move up from Class 3 the last 2 years. There's a couple teams in Richmond that could certainly be in their way coming up in the, I guess you could say, days and weeks to come when they get to the playoffs. As far as, you look at Region B, where you have Verona, which won a state title a few years ago. King George has two dynamic wide receivers in Mekhi White and Chance Wiggins, who are committed to the likes of Maryland and Virginia Tech, respectively. And you don't want to leave out Dinwiddie, who won the state championship just last year. And they have a do-it-all quarterback in Harry Dalton. They actually had Morey, I wouldn't say on the ropes, but they were beating Morey at halftime in a game. And despite their record with a few losses, they can go up tempo and score on people. So I just have a hard time envisioning anybody really having a great deal of success against that Phoebus defense, which is just stifling and suffocating right now and really locking people down. So it's going to be hard to beat them. Are they beatable? Yes, but you're going to have to play a pretty close to mistake-free, flawless type of game. We'll see if Warwick has the goods. Menchville's going to get the first crack at them coming up here. And then that Warwick game, which got moved from a Friday night to a Saturday. By the way, that's some new news for those that didn't watch 757 Saturday Sports Talk, the pod last weekend. We found out as we were exiting last Thursday night, the game at Todd Stadium, that the Warwick and Phoebus game that's much anticipated is going to take place on a Saturday at 12 noon at Todd Stadium in Newport News, just for being able to control the crowd and a lot of the eyeballs that will be wanting to check out that big game coming up. We're going to take a time out and come back with more here on The Hash with Hatfield. As always, like, share, and subscribe to the page. Give us a comment. We'll give you a question of the week coming up. We gave you one last week about best running back. We'll talk a little bit about some of the running backs that could be in play here in a little bit. But we have next on the show Tallwood head football coach John Kepple. He'll join us to talk about the Lions as they're trying to move up the ladder in Region 5A and be a threat. They got a couple of key home games with Green Run and Ocean Lakes to close out the year before that, though they take on winless Princess Sand. But right now we're going to step aside and hear from a few of our sponsors here at the Plex, and that begins with the likes of Dairy Queen, Chicho's, and Freddy's.
Okay, who here has reached peak fall?
Peak what?
Peak fall!
I am wearing plaid.
And I'm wearing a cardigan.
I guess I am eating snickerdoodle cookie dough.
And I am eating a pumpkin pie blizzard.
The new DQ Fall Blizzard menu has reached peak fall. Pumpkin pie, snickerdoodle cookie dough, and more. They are back!
I just love fall. Apparently we all do.
Oh, they did it! Peak fall achieved! DQ, happy tastes good.
Well, it's everybody's favorite time of year again. Time to prepare to make your annual donation to that infernal revenue service. And if you're like me, you need help. Help to keep that donation as small as possible. So get off your W-2 and call John Maynard at John's Tax Service. 455-6763.
Tallwood Lions are the future Tallwood Lions tonight.
All right, back here on The Hash with Hatfield. Today's segment brought to you by VirginiaPreps.com. As you see in my background, Matt Hatfield here, pleased to be joined by the head football coach of the Tallwood Lions. He's been at the helm of this school in Virginia Beach since 2011. It makes him the longest active, tenured head coach in the district at a certain school. I know nipping at his heels is John White at Bayside, and Robert Jackson, who was at Lansdowne, is saying, hold on, I've been coaching longer than both those guys, but he's been at a couple different schools, Salem, Norcom, and the Eagles of Lansdowne now. But John Kepple, his team at 4-3 overall. And as you'll see, scroll across the ticker in a little bit here on this episode, they're doing pretty well in the power ratings as well. And Coach, will first off say congrats on the fine season thus far. I know you got 3 more games to play, but I want to begin with, we played it earlier in the show, the beautiful intro you had with the, I think, elementary kids, and you do so much in the community, I know, from years past. I was even at one of those overtime games where one of your booster club parents or presidents gave me a nice little shirt, which was cool. And it was cool to see your kids run out with the future Tallwood Lions before your, I guess that was your homecoming game with FC the other night.
It was, yes. Yeah. So we wrap our, we typically try to do that earlier in the year. And it just, with the hurricane schedule, where it was supposed to be a Friday and then our game got changed to Monday. We're like, you know what, we'll just wrap it with homecoming. It'll be a great thing for all these, for our community to see. But yeah, we go to Centerville. We went to Centerville this year. We go over there and work with their PE department with Tom Warren, and then this year we sent some guys to Woodstock also. They went over there, Woodstock Elementary, did some readings over there. But yeah, just something exciting. It's kind of publicity for our, we call it the Lions Night, Lions Community Night. And, it's just an opportunity for us to get out, to be seen with the community. It's our way of trying to give back. And these are the kids that are going to be coming to Tallwood at some point. We want them to be excited about Tallwood football. And, but it's, it's a great learning experience for our players too. We talk about being a role model and great leaders and things like that. And that gives them that opportunity to see that. And then, obviously the icing on the cake, to get them run on the field is just, I love watching. They're screaming, the kids are screaming and yelling. This year we've got the purple smoke and all that. And, it's just it's a great thing. I know Centerville, like I said, Tom Warren, they had a flag and everything out there this year. And Brandon Middle School with Coach Robinson, they come over in their jerseys. So it's just it's a great night. It just caps off some of the things that we do. In the spring, we do a free one-day camp for our community, and we get about 150 kids come out to that. And again, we'll go to the elementary schools and we bring a bunch of blocking bags and we let the kids block and tackle and do all that fun stuff in PE class. So it's a lot of fun. These kids our guys all went to these elementary schools, so it's fun for those teachers will call those guys out there like, you're so much bigger now, you're not that third grader you used to be. So it's a lot of fun.
That's really cool. I'll dive into your key players on both sides of the ball that have contributed for you thus far, including, I know, a guy, a 4-year starter in Reginald Costello, going back to the COVID-shortened spring season, if you will. But it's been a topsy-turvy Beach District, Coach. I remember tweeting a few weeks ago that of the first 25, 30 games, I think there was like 18 of them decided by 8 points or less, and like 20 of them had deficits overcome during those games. And you've been a part of some of these, winning in overtime against Lansdowne, beating Cox with a late touchdown, then losing a couple of heartbreakers to Kellum at the end and Salem at the end. You've been in this district so long. I know Green Run is the top team that you still have to play on the schedule here coming up with one of your last 2 home games after this Princess Anne game. But can you ever recall the district being so wild and wacky where on a given night, the 9th, 10th, 11th place team could go beat the 2nd, 3rd, or 4th place team, and it could set up for some compelling playoff games?
No, I think you're right. I think, this is probably the most even I've seen. Even Princess Anne, you came down, they lost to Kellum in the last seconds on a safety, and then Kellum's turned around and beat us at Bayside, and they're doing really well. So I mean, it just shows how everybody is so close through the districts. It's very exciting. I mean, I love it. I love being able, because last year I felt like last year was a complete opposite. You had, your halves that were beating everybody by 20, 30 points some games. And then, ones that weren't doing so well were getting beat by 20, 30 points by those other ones. And then, and we were kind of like that in between. We're in the middle. We just couldn't get to the top dogs, but we were taking care of the other one. Like, it was just such a big discrepancy last year. And then this year being completely opposite. It's a lot of fun to see. Every week, you just never know. You got to play every game.
Well, what would you point to as the difference? Because you've had some good groups in the past. I go back to many years ago when you had that playoff run with the Christian Byron, Will Howard, and that crew, and you've had some teams that have been on the cusp of things, and you've had some good running games with some backs like Gunnar White, who I know is at CNU, and Breon Mosley, and list goes on of players you've produced to the next level. I know Cameron Washington, who's now getting into coaching, if you will, after he played at Old Dominion to begin there. But what's different about this group as opposed to the last couple of groups? And is it start with senior leadership for you? Because I know you got a nice class here in this 2024 group.
It does. It's definitely, the senior leadership. I've heard somebody say in a coaching clinic, we all go to coaching clinics, try to get better, become better coaches, listening to leadership talk, X's and O's. And, when it comes down to it, I had one guy say it's not about X's and O's, it's about Jimmys and Joes and, guys going out there making plays. But the leadership, I heard somebody say the same thing in leadership. We don't, honestly, we haven't done a whole lot. We change, we try to get better every year as a coaching staff, but we've had, captains meetings, leadership workshops. We send our guys to different things. We get them involved and, we sit down and meet. But this group was just very different when you sat in those meetings. It was like they were just sponges. They were just soaking everything up that we went through and talked about all the different things that they wanted. And a lot of it comes down, it's their team, and that's what we, as coaching staff, we try to let them know that, like, this is your team. This is, how do you see us? Where do you want to be? And they've just really taken that on. And the big thing is, I think, is just holding each other accountable. They're not afraid. They can be best friends, but they're not afraid to call each other out if they need to, if things aren't the way it needs to be. But also there's no jealousy. There's no guys that are upset. I've got, Nate Getz last 2 weeks ago hadn't had a catch for like 2 weeks in a row, and then came into the game this past Friday, had 3 touchdown passes for like 125 yards. I mean, it's just one of those type of teams that any given night it's your turn and everybody's excited about it.
Well, you mentioned Nate Getz, and he's definitely a big factor for you catching the football. That wide receiver position. I know you got Luke Beecham at tight end, and up front, Tavin Whitehead. Tell us more about some of these guys that have been key contributors along with Costello here in this group that's allowed you to, I think, coming into last week, right before, you were second in the beach in terms of scoring, right about 33, 34 points a game. So your offense has really started to click and really did so from game one to now. You've been pretty consistent in terms of moving the ball and scoring at a good pace.
Yeah, we, with those guys, last year we were kind of young, although we had Marquise Stevens and Coley at line and Savage, and Ziemba also. We had some good key pieces last year, but we were kind of young. So last part of last season, we ended up 4-1 the last part of the season, and our run game really picked up and really kind of got going and really put us on the map, getting our offense going. So we've just kind of carried that through. Tavin Whitehead being a big part of that. He, played tackle. I mean, he is a monster out there. He has worked so hard in the offseason, made some incredible gains. He's a kid that I think is going to get a lot of, he's got a couple offers already, but I think he's got, as the chips start to fall, some people that come after the season, they're going to be some people looking for him because, he's very fast. I think we had a play that this last game where he's actually looks like he's racing Jaden Hill into the end zone. I mean, he just quick off the ball and can move and pull and do all those things, but he plays defense and he's tough on D, making a lot of plays for us there. And then Luke Beecham, like you said, another big body type guy, 6'6", 270, playing tight end for us. We had an injury, so we moved him into tackle last week. So he's going to kind of play both spots. Being able to run behind him at fullback is exciting, but he's a very good offensive lineman also. He's a guy that really, changes us. He's got to be on the field, and that was one thing that we talked about. If we find that, not having a tight end in the game might be our best offense, depending on who we play. That means he's on the sideline. And I told him that's not our best offense if he's on the sideline. So, but defensively, he's one of our top tacklers. They got, playing inside for us, playing that nose and DN tackle type guy. But he's doing a great job there, so, for the line, those guys are doing great. As you said, Reggie Costello, he's a defensive monster. He plays everything for us. He plays inside linebacker, outside linebacker, plays safety a little bit. He can play man. He's leading our team in tackles right now. I think he's got 50 plus tackles already, with a bunch of tackles for a loss and interception. But he's just playing real tough. great leadership ability. Him and Tavin are doing a great job just, holding everybody together, holding everybody accountable. But he's on offense. He's a slot receiver. He's a wide receiver. He's a running back for us. He's had a couple games over 100 yards rushing. So we use him in so many different ways. Like, he's so versatile. I mean, he hasn't had to play some quarterback, but he's got quarterback ability where we can put him at quarterback and run some things with him. We've got a whole package for him if we need to. So he's doing a great job there. But we're excited about the way those three, and their leadership is outstanding.
And I'd be remiss if I didn't bring up Jaden Hill. Had 105 yards on the ground, 2 touchdowns for you in this recent win over FC, 41-14, where you had about 430 plus yards of offense on the Patriots. And I'd be remiss also, besides that, every year I think coaches, when they have to replace seniors, they miss some guys that have been there, and you figure out, how do I, fill these holes, these gaps. But you got some returnees beyond this year. They're going to make a presence felt as you try to make this playoff run and potentially be in line to host a first-round playoff game, which I can't recall if you guys have done that during your tenure or not, which would be awesome if you can get in that top 4 line there in Region 5A, where you have Greenwood at the top and you're battling with Cox and Indian River and Salem for one of those 2, 3, or 4 slots. But your quarterback, Jacob Rojas, I know back at the beach luncheon, Ray Colston was telling me and some others that Rojas at quarterback could be arguably our fastest kid, and he's been throwing the ball very well for you at the QB spot. And then you've got Amir Harmon. I think he's just a sophomore. He's really broken out this year as a guy catching the ball, and also had a special teams touchdown recently. Tell me about some of the others in terms of the underclassmen that are really stepping up for you as you try to get this winning season in advance in the postseason this year.
Yeah, with Jaden Hill, like you said, I mean, he's our top, running back, and he's doing it, and he's our main carrier. He's got 6 or 7 touchdowns himself. But and like I said, Nate Getz got 6 touchdowns at receiver. But you're right, with Rojas is just, I mean, he's come a long way. Last year we went in, he was our guy. We rotated a couple different guys in, but he was a 10th grader, and he made 10th grade mistakes. I'll be honest, there's not many guys that work harder in the off season and harder at what he does. And him, I was telling Coach Crowley over at CNU, we always talk about Gunnar White's work ethic at running back when he was here, and the way, because Coach Crowley talks about him at CNU, and we're like, this, he's got that same kind of never give up, always give it everything he's got. But I'd have to be honest, he's probably got the best quarterback coach, and maybe in the whole state, but his Coach Wilder's his quarterback coach. So I mean, that he's doing a good job with Jacob, obviously, but he just really understands our offense. He fits our offense, what we like to do. He is one of the fastest guys on our team. He can throw the ball, he can run the ball, but the thing that he does really well is he's just very smart. He's a great leader. We run some RPO stuff that we've always tried to run, and our RPO game has gotten so much bigger because of him. He understands how to read and how to handle situations, and the mistakes he made last year is, we're all learning, mistakes. As all of us go in, we put a 10th grader in, we're like, all right, he's got to make mistakes. He's going to learn from them. And unfortunately, we've all coached guys that you have to keep coaching that for the next 3 years, but Jacob's not one of those guys. He's learned from his mistakes last year and got so much better. But he's really running our offense, making that go in so many ways. But like you said, Amir Harmon, even with Nate Getz as a senior, we got Amari as a sophomore, and he's got 25 receptions already this year, a few touchdowns. Special teams, he's a huge threat. He's one of the fastest kids in the state, I believe, for track. But every time he catches a ball, it might be in the end zone. The thing I love watching him, back there catching punts and kicks, he's aggressive. He's not afraid to catch the ball and go get it. But he does a fantastic job out there in space. And, we've got Tyler Shagno is another returning receiver. He's got 200 plus yards of receptions. Jordan Mittenall is also our backup quarterback, but he also plays receiver for us. Those guys are all coming back for next year. And then on the other side of the ball, Jordan plays defensive back. Amari Harmon's playing corner for us. Jaden Burris, Jarrell Burris's little brother. We got a dual team out there. One's a senior, one's a sophomore. Jarrell's a cover guy. He does a great job, really understanding it. But his younger brother, Jaden, is playing phenomenal at safety, able to come down out of the box, make some plays, and do some really special things in that safety spot. But then then flipping to that side of the field, we've got Blake Wallace is playing outside linebacker for us, who's a junior. He was leading the team with tackles, and he's been out the last game. But Tony Lee is another middle linebacker. He's actually leading the team in interceptions. Again, number 2 at tackles. So we've got a lot of good, solid junior, senior guys out there, and some young guys that will be returning. But these guys get better every week, and I'm excited to watch them play.
Awesome. I really appreciate you making some time for us to do this, and I'll let you out on this one, Coach. And we look forward to watching the Lions as they roar into November. What's going to be the key to being a threat come playoff time? And it feels like this is a group that's been quietly going about its business. You're getting better and better, and you want to be hitting your stride as you go into November. What's going to be the key in terms of getting there and then conquering a couple of those hurdles that may be in your way?
Our biggest thing, we've been saying it from day one, is we just got to take care of what we control. We got to be able to come out there, and you get the opportunity, you got to make a play. That's a big difference, I would say, in the years past compared to this group and groups in the past. When we need a play to be made, these guys are making plays. And they're making things happen. But also, we're just really focused on us. We're not getting caught up with social media has changed the game so much when it comes to the hype and all that stuff and what the players have to listen to and go through and all that stuff. But we really focus on us and what we're doing, and we come to practice and focus on us, and and I think that's really paid off because we all know football is sometimes in games like this, it's whoever makes the biggest mistake is the one that goes home, and we're just making sure we're focused on what we control, and we play a team that's athletically better than us or anything like that. We're just gonna come out and play hard, and hopefully things will go well.
Looking forward to seeing you guys soon. I might be coming to that one in a couple of Fridays here. I know you got Princess Anne on the road here first up before you play host to Green Run and Ocean Lakes to close out the regular season. And then the fingers crossed that you'll get a chance to host in the first round in Region 5A, which is just topsy-turvy. You can go from 2nd to 7th or 9th to 4th in a blink of an eye in this region this year. Although Green Run looks to be the team that's got that 1 seed on lock if they don't trip up here between now and the postseason. Well, always a pleasure. Keep it going, and we'll talk again soon.
All right. Thanks, Matt. I appreciate it.
That's the head coach of the Tallwood Lions, John Kepple, with us, our guest this week on The Hash with Hatfield. We'll take a timeout and come back with more to put the finishing touches on this episode, and you'll hear now from our sponsors and supporters right here from the Plex.
Man, I wish I was out there. Let's unretire. Why not? Randy Moss.
Dan Marino? You alright?
Hey, Grandpa!
Grandpa?
I still got it.
22. 22.
Let's see.
Hey. I need that senior discount. That's the game. Mr. Marino, you mind if I take a selfie? Thank you.
I'm good right here, bro.
Unretirement? Who'd be dumb enough to do that?
There we go. All right, we got the volume back as I was talking and it was muted, but we're all good to go. Thank you for commenting up there. We're back here with On the Hash with Hatfield as I was talking, and nobody heard a word I was saying. Now you can hear me, but we are streaming always on the Virginia Beach Sportsplex YouTube channel, and we also are streaming with you as well as on virginiapreps.com, archived there all the time, on the Facebook, on the Twitter, the X as they call it now. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Tell your friends, tell your football fans and sports fans out there, and you'll enjoy it. And we do podcasts every couple of days. We do the football podcast on Thursdays. We do the field hockey podcast on Tuesdays. And, of course, 757 Saturday Sports Talk on Saturdays with yours truly and the coach, Ed Young. All right, hopefully the folks that have given us a comment, they can comment to us now. They got the volume now, as we were told. They just heard background music. Give me a thumbs up or let me know that you can hear us now and that the volume has been fixed. I think we are good to go. As we troubleshoot that issue, technically speaking, we are back with you, and it's time now to reveal the latest Chicho's Pizza 757 Football Player of the Week. And it was a tricky call this week because there was probably 4 or 5 candidates in one game that I zoomed in on and zeroed in on, and ends up going to a young man from Indian River High School in Chesapeake, which got themselves a huge win over Nance. Whenever we're talking about the young man right here on your screen, Malachi Hinton. Congrats to him. Look at his performance. 7 rushes, 207 yards. That's pretty good fantasy average right there. If you've got him on your fantasy team, that ends up being 29.6 yards per pop, ladies and gents. 2 rushing touchdowns. The 82-yard game winner in a game that my man Jim McGrath, who does some work for us at Virginia Preps, also with the Virginia Pilot and Daily Press, and Jim is an outstanding reporter out there. He got to watch this head-spinning matchup. My colleague on Saturdays, Ed Young, did not. He was out and about somewhere honky-tonk in Hampton Roads. But what a job there for Malachi Hinton, the senior running back and a track star speedster. He is the latest Chicho's Pizza 757 Football Player of the Week. So congrats to Malachi. He'll get himself a Chicho's Pizza voucher, also one of those plaques from our good pal with Virginia Trophy. Bruce Pearl will be coming your way. And Chicho's is more than just a pizza. Bring the family, grab a slice, and enjoy all that they have. Calzones, appetizers, wings, wraps, salads, and so much more. And in fact, when you go to Wing Wednesday, 99 cents each for the wings. It's the perfect time to gather up the friends and family and start a new hump day tradition. Come see them dine in Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. for the lunch specials. And they also have all kinds of evening specials and so much more. ChichosPizza.com to get your details and info on that. All right, appreciate the comments. Let me know we are good to go. And we are jumping, as one of the coaches out there says, we'll have to do this during basketball season to get that guy who's listening on the show with us. But there you have it. Malachi Hinton, the Chicho's Pizza 757 Football Player of the Week now. 52 rushes for 508 yards and 6 TDs on the season. He's jumping. He's getting it done for Tyler Allison and Davion Turns and that whole crew over there at IRHS. Big win for Brandon Carr's team because, as we showed you earlier in the show, in between our interviews we had with Brandon, with John Kepple of Tallwood, along with Jeremy Blunt from Phoebus, and the 2 young men from Menchville who helped the Monarchs beat the Crabbers, and Shane Reimann and Amir Harrison. They were actually at one point 10th in the power ratings behind 8th seed Kellum, who we had on Coach Brian Neese last week, and 9th seed Bayside. They've jumped from 10 all the way up to 5, and Indian River's in a spot where they can maybe get all the way up to the 2 line if they continue winning. And the rest of the schools in the Beach District that are kind of jockeying, Salem, Tallwood, Cox, all trip up at some point. And they've got to play Green Run, do the Sun Devils, Tallwood next week. Stallions look like the really top dog in 5A with one of the top passers around in Kassan Farrar and a host of weapons like Keelan Brody Adams, the Virginia Tech commit. Jaden Anderson is having a wonderful year. Tayshawn Young, Steve, Quality Price, and many others. And you see they're just dominant in the Beach. Maury's dominant in the Eastern District. Southeastern, who's dominant? Is it Kings Fork? Well, there's a big matchup on Friday night in Suffolk. Bulldogs playing host to Oscar Smith. Remember, just a few years back, they were able to snap that streak that Oscar Smith had going in terms of the Southeastern District. 99 consecutive wins. They snapped it around, I want to say it was 2017, 2018. Forget the exact year that they did it. But a big matchup. This one's going to come down to, can they get that consistent pass rush on Lonnie Andrews III, the quarterback for Oscar Smith, who's just a freshman, got his first offer this week from Boston College. That, to me, is going to be the determining factor in this game because he has a good group of receivers led by the big-time jump ball star who got last week's Chicho's Pizza Player of the Week, Travis Johnson, just a sophomore, and a big-time multi-sport athlete, Tigers defense has been a little hot and cold at times this year. They have some guys that can get after it, like Gerard Wilson off the edge. But if that Kings Fork defense with Josh Pittman at linebacker, Kayvon Blanding at safety, and that group can maybe force a couple takeaways and put the Tigers in unfavorable third and long situations, I like them to get the nod in this game. Give you a couple of picks that Coach Young and I disagree on, which people can read on virginiapreps.com. We'll have that Tidewater predictions article up for you to read in full view on Friday for those that are interested in that. But give you some of the games of a highlight as well. We see Oscar Smith, Kings Fork on the screen there, 5-2 at 7-0. Not a whole lot on the docket in terms of the Thursday night slate. You just have Kickinton and Woodside over at Todd Stadium in York hosting Bruton at Bailey Field. We both have Kickinton and Bruton taking that. Sorry, Doug Pereira, we still love you at York. As far as the Friday games go, we have a disagreement on Ocean Lake's Bayside. Coach is taking Bayside. I'm taking the Dolphins 10-9 in a defensive struggle. You got Cox at FC, Green Run, Salem, Kellum, Lansdowne. One of us has the Knights. One of us has the Eagles. You got to go to the website tomorrow to find out who has who in that game. We both have the same score, though, of 18-16. Give you that there. Tallwood, as we heard with Coach Kepple, they're at Princess Anne, who's playing better than a winless team. I'm not saying they're a playoff team because I don't see it happening for Phillip Sims this year, but they're making some progress, and I think they'll start to reap those rewards hopefully in the next year or two over there at PA. And I wouldn't be shocked if they give somebody a scare here. They gave Kellum a scare a couple weeks ago. Booker T hosts Manor. Churchland Lake Taylor. We have a disagreement on that game between the Truckers. Dontrell Leonard's team's been running the football really well with Dontavius Booker and that large, sturdy O-line. Can Hank Sawyer's defense step up here? They've been much maligned this year. They still have some talent there, despite a couple of injuries. Elijah Moss, Washington, the Syracuse commit, multi-sport star who was the Eastern District Player of the Year in hoops. He can get it done both sides of the ball. I wouldn't count the Titans out just yet, and one of us has that game going to overtime. Norview's at Morey. Could be another 70-piece for Morey or 50-piece or 60-piece. They're winning by 65 a game, as I said, in the Eastern District with Artori Newkirk leading the way. LeBron Bond catching it. Fred J.R. Johnson, the South Carolina commit, doing it on both sides of the ball. They just have so much talent and a deep backfield, too. And Great Bridges at Deep Creek. Grassfield at Nansemond River. Quietly kept. I like the job Joe Jones and the Grizzlies are doing with my man Rod Johnson, the OC over there, Landon Curls, freshman quarterback, Kamari Wilson running the football. They have some pieces. Their offense is making some progress. I think the Grizzlies can crack the playoffs potentially in 6A. It's coming down to them, Western Branch, Meadowbrook, Lansdowne. They're all jockeying in that 6 through 8 range. We'll put that power ratings up here in a second for those teams after you see the ticker go through with the last couple of games coming up on Saturday. But unfortunately, I think Nansemond River has too much in that game for the Grizz in this matchup. Lakeland at Hickory. Cavs try to get their first win. The Hawks try to get their second win of the year. Western Branch and Indian River. Can the Bruins play spoiler? I don't think so. They've had some trouble up front on the line this year, but they still have some skill position talent with a lot of different guys, including Damon McDaniel Jr. catching the football and a couple of good backs, Kynick Baines being one of them. So I would not count them out just yet. They're going to try to get back in the playoffs. The 6th seed at the moment, right now ahead of Lansdowne, behind Oscar Smith after winning the region title last year under Coach Rashad Cook. Your PD games, Gloucester at Heritage. Hurricanes trying to squeeze in the door in 4A. I'm sorry, in 3A now. They were in 4A previously. They're now in 3A. I think they can pull this off, believe it or not. Heritage is on the outside looking in behind Grafton and Petersburg and a couple of teams. You have Warwick against Hampton at Darling Stadium. It's a trap game like the Churchland Lake Taylor game is for the Truckers, but I think ultimately the Raiders will win, although that touchdown streak, not giving up a TD all year long, could get snapped in this game if Kayaz Watford and Jamari Lumpkins, Calvin Chester's healthy at running back. He got hurt last week in the game. If that trio is able to get on the other side of the 50, I think they will find the end zone at least once in that game, may not win the game. You have Grafton at Tab. We disagree on that game. I've got the Clippers. Coach Young has John Byron and the Tigers. Hope he doesn't jinx you, Coach Byron, but man, I tell you what, that Cam Dixon kid can really run the rock for Tab. Grafton's got some backs, though, too, and I think it's a must-win game for Grafton, which has been sliding here as of late. I think Max Bolton, Creighton Incremenius, and the Clippers will get them back on the right track. Lafayette should cruise against Jamestown. Pocosin at New Kent. Don't see any trouble for Elliott Duty and the Islanders. If they do have trouble, we'll blame it on Mike Whittington, the AD over there. And you also have Warhill at Smithfield, like the Lions in that matchup, even though Kenye Martin's having a good year running the football for Smithfield, is in that running back conversation as far as area leading rushers with Javon Ford from Kings Fork and a host of others in that conversation. Your Saturday games, Bethel, Denby, Phoebus, Menchville, double dip at Todd Stadium. Then you have Granby at Norcom, and that brings to the story of Norcom, which had the unfortunate situation of a sportsmanship violation from last year's playoff loss against Phoebus. So they are not eligible for the playoffs, even though they technically have a power rating that would put them in. It is homecoming for them. The Grounds have a loyal faithful following. I think they'll be pumped up for it, but you do wonder about the psyche a little bit with that unfortunate news that came out this week. You hate to see this, but, when you do have violations, sometimes you have to pay the consequences, and that is the sad part for them. So no postseason for the Greyhounds this year. They do have some youngsters they can build around. Granby, it's a key game because I think you want to be in 5B, which we'll show those power ratings here in a second, the number 4 seed. You don't want to see Maury, Kings Fork, or Warwick in the first round. I'm not saying you really want to see Nansman River, but if you got to pick somebody in the first round to see, that would be the team defensively, which had some couple of cracks here as of late after playing really rock solid to begin the year, led by Manny Azagu, the JMU commit, that you might have the best chance if you are a Granby, a Bethel, or a Menchville. So that's what it's looking like there in 5B. All right, that covers pretty much everything. We had a jam-packed show for you here on the Hash with Hatfield. We're going to do it again here next week as we get closer and closer to Halloween. We'll see what costume I will pick out of the closet, what I'll bring out here for the show, maybe a new background because people are getting, I don't want to say tired of the virtual Sportsplex background we got there, but they're seeing my hands and arms and legs and parts disappear, which Coach Young always kids me about. So make sure you like, share, and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Check it out on VirginiaPreps.com, anything you might have missed. Also on Facebook, on Twitter. We'll work on getting on Twitch and Instagram and all those things with the kids and TikTok too. But always a pleasure, and I'll do it again. Enjoy your football weekend, everyone. Let me know where you are, and make sure you tune into Saturday, 757 Saturday Sports Talk. We're going to go on the air a little early, probably around 9 a.m. this coming Saturday with Coach Young and I to recap the action. Talk to you again from the Plex.